Hi everyone, welcome to Psychedelic Conversations. This is your hub for engaging in deep conversations around serotonergic hallucinogens that alter perceptions, affect cognitive processes, induce mystical and spiritual experiences. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Psychedelic Conversations podcast. I have for you a very special guest on this episode, my dear friend Naysha. She is a Cronderita from Peru, a descendant of Shipibo tribe, and she is a medicine carrier. So she's based in Europe, in Sweden, and she carries her medicine with her, and she really understands the culture and growing up with these medicines and also their benefits. So this conversation is going to be all about the way we can integrate the Western understanding of the medicine to the indigenous way of understanding the medicine. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being with us, Naysha. Welcome.
Hello, Suzanne. Thank you for having me here one more time. And congratulations with this new platform and project. I have seen already, many podcasts. I really like it. And well, to say to the people, like you're going to be listening a lot of kikirikis on the background because I'm in the jungle and there is a lot of roasters around.
Amazing. Thank you. Yes, we have had many, many conversations with Naysha. I also see her as my shaman, where I did most of my plant medicine work with Naysha in the past. And she's in Peru. She's in the jungle right now. I'm actually surprised you were able to fly out there because you did that recently, because you're based in Sweden now. And like I said, she is the founder of the Taita Into, which is a website. We will put all the links in as well. Like I said, she works intimately with ayahuasca and some of those jungle medicines, and we will get into that in a moment. But first, Naysha, what is it like for you now, this pandemic? How has it changed you? Let's begin there.
Oh, this pandemic has been, um, I think there are, different aspects to talk about this pandemic. Like in my personal life, this has been a really good opportunity to settle down because, I've been traveling so much. And this has been a time where I was able to stop the time and look, into the things in my life, in my work. And then, of course, the other part, the global part, like, we have talked before about the practices of the dieta, which is the training that the curanderos or the healers here in the Amazon we do to learn how to work with the plants. And it's basically Mother Earth has pushed us all to do, this at home in our different countries. I'm just sad that not many people perhaps have the understanding, and the actually gift that we have been given with these times, where we could have chosen to, take this time to look into ourselves. And these are years that are very interesting, Susan. It's for me opportunity to go back to our hearts, opportunity to find the path again. If we have not find it, to find it again, and if we have get out a little bit, then to come back. It's a year for resets. It's a year for transformations. It's a wonderful opportunity. This is how I see, this pandemic in my personal life and in a global also view.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane, isn't it? And how do you look at the situation with some of the people are really struggling? Is it because they are refusing the work? Because in the spiritual philosophy, we have these understandings that we don't normally accept the work because of some fears, fear of change, fear of unknown, and all these things, which I had my own experience with in the past, beginning the path of the self work. Because I don't see plant medicine journey as a separate plant medicine journey. I see it as a catalyst for my own self work, actually. So, plant medicines, you know, we always talk about in the West, you already know this because we're going to get into that. Coming from an indigenous background and understanding the medicine on a very different level, I'm sure you had struggles coming to the Europe and bringing the medicine to Europe to those of us, for example, myself including, which we don't come from that kind of culture. We didn't grow up with them. We didn't understand. And when we come to these ceremonies, you know, we come with an expectation of change, immediate change and transformation handed over to us. I'm sure you've seen hundreds of times the same situation. And I remember when I first met you, I actually came to you with that same mindset of, okay, I'm going to the retreat and I will be transformed. So this medicine will be the key to unlock the thing that I cannot do myself, which partly true because it kind of cracks you open, right? The medicine is like the catalyst. But then very fast, very quickly, I understood that it was to do with me. And this self-work path, medicine is just a catalyst, just like meditation. Maybe the medicine can do this faster, but ultimately everything goes hand in hand. So I just want to touch on this idea of drinking the medicine and healing instantly. What are your thoughts on that? And how did you learn to work with people from Europe or the other parts of the world who do not understand the medicine path?
This has been one of my, I have a mission to help. The medicine has asked me, we have spoke about this, how I came to work. And one of the reasons why the medicine also invited me to bring, her spirit outside the Amazon, as many others are doing. And not only that, but like talks like this, helping, it's because we have so much ignorance surrounding us. And we don't only have the intellectual ignorance, but the spiritual ignorance is such a big hole that we need to fill up in order for the other understandings or teachings can integrate, like the emotional intelligence, and then the intellectual intelligence, of course. During this, it's 12 years now when I'm working with the medicine. And from the beginning, when I started training, we have been receiving a lot of people, from the Western societies or, from outside Peru. And myself, when I came to this path, I also have that illusion that when I drink the medicine, I'm going to know everything, that everything that perhaps was creating problems on me will be shown to me, will be revealed. But it was not like that. The medicine, yes, opened my eyes to see and to confirm that there is much more than what we think we are, that there is much more inside of us, that we are not just this, human body. And people that has done plant medicine, they understand what I mean. And that's why we talk about, plant medicine helping expanding the awareness or waking us up. And I think this is the first things that the medicine is doing right now, waking people up. And then it comes to the point when each of us, we are responsible for, our journeys. We all have different journeys. The discipline, the constance, the practice is what makes a teacher. And we are all teachers. This is something that we have forgotten and we give our power away. So the medicine is one tool, and this is something we need to remember. Just like meditation, meditation is a practice. Ayahuasca ceremonies is also a tool, a practice. And like when you meditate, you are the one that sits, you are the one that, you know, disconnects, you're the one that goes there. So the same with ayahuasca. With ayahuasca, you are the one that needs to seek for ayahuasca, you drink it, but then when you are there, you need to remember, you know, why you're there. There are, of course, you know, many things around how ceremonies, you know, should be performed, and not to do it alone, of course, because it's like, you know, entering in different spaces and dimensions that it will not be as productive and also safe if we will do it alone, as when we go with some guidance in these, you know, places. The Western mind is wants things quick, and but I will say in general the human mind, it wants things, you know, to be quick. It wants to solve everything quick, and I mean that is something positive as long as we don't give up. Because I also know from my practice that the universe and ourselves, we are constantly testing ourselves to see, you know, how much really we want that we want in our lives to achieve, and to have clarity of the goals that we want in our life. I think is, you know, something very important as well. um, there are so many, you know, different kinds of people that comes to the retreats. There is something that it keeps coming up, you know, and is the how we call it, the spiritual ego. When people comes to do ayahuasca, many times this part, you know, is awakened, and then you believe, you know, everything, and you know, you're enlightened. But no, it's not like that. We just came to this understanding, but then we need to do the work. And doing the work means looking really deeply and honestly into all ourselves, and especially into our shadows, into all, you know, into the negative things, into the things that are not beautiful in us. If we are willing to go and see that, then we are going to get, you know, results. We are going to get answers. If we just want to go to see, you know, like butterflies and unicorns and speak to God, which is possible, you know, to get this kind of um, very sacred, you know, experiences, um, but that will transform our lives, not the opposite. Because some people, then again, you know, they go to the ego, and this is something that again is a personal choice. So people needs to be, you know, very aware that yes, there is not a quick fix with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a tool. You need to do the work. You need to be willing to go to your shadows, to, and that's also, Susan, one reason why ayahuasca is very much misunderstood by other kind of healers that don't have experience or understanding of these medicines, is the darkness that it comes. But the thing is that ayahuasca doesn't bring this like as something new. This is something we are all carrying, and we are carrying this darkness, this duality, so that we can choose more consciously. This is the the situation right now also in the world. Why some people is struggling at this point, and why other people is not struggling. And this is because some people already have awakened. Some people are in that process. Some people are still sleeping, so they're blaming, you know, everything in the corona situation, in the governments, and nobody's really taking responsibility and saying what is my role in this thing that is happening, because it's happening to all of us. And if it's happening to all of us, it's because we are also part of the problem or the situation or what is happening. And when we find how can I make this situation better for myself, and when we are able to answer those questions, you know, sometimes this has been about changing the way how we've been living life, because obviously it's not any longer uh, you know, giving you what you've been receiving before. So there is an updated to do, an upgraded to do, change to do. But until, you know, like we have been basically pushed back to the walls, it's like the ones that wants to move forward will move, like in life. Just that this situation has been put now over everybody.
Yeah.
And now everybody, you know, needs to like realize and to choose again, like you wake up or you keep sleeping. So that's why, Susan, there is such a big polarity from country to country, governments to governments. I live in Sweden, and I mean, there we didn't have the lockdown, and it has not been as bad as many other countries. And this is also, part of how the Swedish mentality is, the culture there, and they know that they should not go out. So there is no need to really put a law to enforce, because people will do it anyway. And then we go back again to this point. We are sleeping still. Most people are still sleeping, which means we're still like children. So we need a parent to tell us what to do. And then we complain why the governments are, doing this and that, because we are children. This I can say, like a small answers to the questions we can.
Yeah, I love everything you said so far. There's so many threads that I want to touch on. Yes, I think one of my most significant awakening or the understanding was understanding that the physical plane that we are experiencing is a very dual, and there's polarity, and there's darkness and light, and it's all good. There is no bad. I mean, there's no bad or good. It's just is. So this was my biggest awakening and understanding. So living in this physical plane, holding those two together, holding the light and the dark together, is a skill. And one of the lessons of ayahuasca was that, like you said, yes, a lot of people would say they had a bad trip, but it was really chaotic. And I see, for my own research, I read a lot of blogs and people's experiences on ayahuasca or the plant medicines. And oftentimes I see a lot of people talking about it was a bad trip, because we tend to label it as a bad trip. But you said something very powerful earlier. You said it's about ayahuasca bringing it to our consciousness that, look, the divinity, the light and this beauty exists in you, as well as this also exists in you. I think keeping them and holding them in balance is probably the skill that we need to develop in this physical plane. Maybe not, I don't know, but I know exactly what you mean. When we disregard, we reject, we don't like, it's very difficult for us to accept that all of these evil things are happening in the world. It's also within us. We are the container that we can also have all of that within us. So this was a very eye-opening experience. And like you said, again, awakened people, asleep, again, these are the part of the two polarities. And again, what's the deal here? I think you're right. We just need to take responsibility. We need to stop waiting for that parent. Government can be the parent that, symbolically, metaphorically telling you to stay home. I think, through this self-work journey, Naysha, I think one of the things that I really came to understand is that growing up is the issue. Growing up and becoming mature is something that we reject, and almost we don't want it. And as you know, coming from engaging with so many people in the coaching space, I see now so clear to me, especially after the pandemic, it became very clear to me that a lot of us continually chasing tools to change, but none of us really want to change. Because when we change, that means we need to grow up and become mature. And when we become mature, that means we cannot keep on telling lies to ourselves, and we cannot keep playing these games anymore. And that we hang on to it, like we cling on to that, because once that's taken away and you can no longer lie to yourself, then you need to take responsibility of your life and yourself. I think that is the issue in our humanness and our fragility. I see us so fragile when it comes to taking responsibility, because we rather give our power, like you said, because when we give our power to other people to make decisions on our behalf, we also give the power of the divinity, or the power of the what we are not in this, because this is the physical plane that we can perceive. But what are we beyond this? If we're going to keep giving the power over, then we will never be able to see that divinity or that power beyond, the cosmic power beyond, right? Because you keep dealing in these little games and transactional, games that we're in relational games. Look, we're so divided in everything, yet everything connects us together, but we just keep refusing, and we keep going in that separate direction, all of us. Like I recently, actually, I had the honor to meet some of the Psychedelic Society UK members, and there is a documentary coming up, the Psychedelic Renaissance documentary, and I had a preview of that, and it was so powerful, Naysha. You would love it once it's out there. You would love it, and especially the ending. The ending was so powerful. It just hit my heart, and I was like, oh, just crying. It was so powerful. And one of the speakers in the documentary talks about spiritual narcissism, and I think that's what you touched on. We have this interesting ability to turn everything into narcissism, even spirituality, right? And this is what you're talking about. When people come to the retreats, they bring the ego with them, and then the ego gets blown up, because you probably know this, and you've probably seen this over and over again. And a lot of the guests that I speak to on this podcast, they say the same thing. They bring this ego. The ego always comes with the person when it's in the retreats. And then, yeah. So talk to me a bit more about that spiritual narcissism. I thought this was the best thing I ever heard in the recent times, actually, in the plant medicine scene. Especially with the medicine carriers like yourself, because we know not every medicine carrier is a genuine and authentic medicine carrier, right? Because you always talk about the medicine being compromised, the person who's facilitating or the carrying the medicine, they're not in that authentic spirit, maybe in that narcissistic, spiritual narcissistic spirit, all those things.
That's why, before, when I started with this path, I always hear, not only in Peru, but in other shamanic practices connected with plant medicine, that takes 10 years to actually, being able to understand how this medicine works. And I totally agree. In my youth years working in the medicine, I also, felt and thought like, oh, I understand everything. But as the years has passed, I just realized how little I knew, and how much is to know, and how important it is to be patient, and how important it is, to have an open heart, and of course, open mind. But it needs to go together, because the heart, it's also filtering, what the mind is receiving, because we just tend to accept everything that we receive without filters, and these filters are connected with a feeling of resonance in our lives, that this has not only resonance but also coherence in our lives. Most spiritual teachers that are in ayahuasca, I'm afraid to say, not all of them, of course, but most are still, living in the duality. And I have been asking myself why there is not more like ayahuasca, teachers coming forward and talking more, about what they receive, so on. And the answer that I receive is because also, that way of thinking is leaving behind now. And the ayahuasca shamans, the traditional ones that we meet here, especially, and this is something very common and that we need to heal in the masculine circles, unfortunately, the use of the powers that we receive from the plants to be used in games. There is a lot of wars, shaman wars, going on here in the Amazon. This is also one of the reasons why very early when I started, I decided to move, not to work here because of this, because it's not sometimes space, to hold a ceremony and then also receive attacks. And this is just a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of abilities instead of I'm connecting with somebody else ceremony. Let's just bring more light. Like we try to push it down. But this is because Susan, like everything that we are experiencing as a humanity, it has a reason, and we are like going by phases. We're still children yet. Also, we're still children in this shamanic path. So we are also evolving in this path. The first contact, with the medicine was to learn how the medicine works. Now we are entering in this time where healers also needs to be, responsible for their own healing. Where healers also needs to heal themselves. Um, Most shamans here, they go, by tradition, like they receive, this in the lineage, is in their path, but doesn't necessarily mean that something has brought them there. I feel like the people that has been brought with a um, with a more, I don't know how to say better in English, but when there is a purpose behind, when life, has put us in a situation where we cannot do anything else than just really look into answers and fix ourselves. When we're in that point and we can break through that, and we can, become then, shamans, I think that's the most, I think, powerful shamans that I have met. I'm not saying that the shamans that go by lineage, they are not powerful, but I feel that there is a difference, from a
Yeah.
person that has been brought to this path, for certain conditions in their lives, than people that just do this because it's in their family lineage. And so they are not really, pushed to become better, or, it's a personal choice also in the spiritual circles. It's a personal choice for a shaman, and not only to learn the practicality of how we use, because it's like we are doctors, right? So when we are training, we are learning how to use the scapels, the energies, how to open, how to close it, what is the problem. But what is the difference between a doctor, and a shaman? Well, we are working, yes, with energies and all these things, but just like in the universities, they are not making us being better people, they are delivering good doctors with good practices. And this also has been, in the spiritual practices, we are delivering good shamans that they know how to hold the space. Doesn't necessarily mean we are delivering good, good people with good hearts in the right, vibration. But that's a personal choice. And also, what is the right vibration? That's also a personal choice, because everything that is happening, it's meant to happen. There is, like you say, there is not good, there is not bad. It's only what I feel resonance, what we feel, more attracted to. I, from long time ago, since a child, I have been always, called uh, to the light, to be unconditional. And this is where now all these 12 years are getting and bringing me. The answer of the plans is to become unconditional. And that means to love unconditional. And when you start to look, and to feel that energy, that vibration, and to direct it into you, then is when really a lot of things, start to happen. And then to bring that into, your family, your space, your work, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the biggest, answer that I have received during these years for my life, and that I want to give to people. To become unconditional is one of our mission as humans, to remember that if we can go back to our hearts, there is not place for ego, there is not place for anything,
Mm-hmm.
then just that. But
Yeah.
if we don't have that clear, then we're going to get lost into the ego traps. First, I wanted to, to keep going in this path because I wanted to get enlightened. This was my goal. before, when I was, much younger. And then with the years, with all, Susanna, I share with you a lot of my things in life, like all the difficulties, all the tests. And I just come to the point, like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. I want to have peace. I want to have love. I want to have calmness. I want to feel safe. I want all these things that are good, and all that it came just back to this point, like to be unconditional. And that's when I finally understood how, the creator or the universe, the name that we want to give it, God, the goddess, it doesn't matter, wants for us. And together with that, unconditional love is come with the free will also. So when I see people entering in this path and then getting confused, you know, in this ego, it's part of their journey. There is not much, because I have tried, that one can do, because it's a process, and like we just need to be unconditional with these people.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't affect us, because what I understood is, when we feel affected by people that is narcissists or this, is because we are just mirroring each other. There are things that are that still has not healed. If I cannot be unconditional, it doesn't mean I take shit, you know. It doesn't mean that. But you don't go into a confrontation, into a victimization. I mean, there is no need to fix the person. There is no need to tell the person, oh, you're doing wrong or right. It's like more like recommendations. It came to that direction, like, well, I will recommend, but it's your choice. I think this is the best things that we can do, because we cannot avoid. It's in every circle. It's in meditation. It's in yoga. It's in every practice, in every profession. But it's just a personal decision and a personal journey. When you wake up, like how many times I have found myself in that.
Amazing. I want to just touch on some of the things that you just said. You said like at least three, four things that I want to just go back a bit, if you don't mind. One of the things that I'm hearing from you right now: forget the enlightenment, ditch the enlightenment. It's not about enlightenment. And there is this story that I carry with me all the time when I find myself, because the ego is part of us, and ego always wants something big and shiny and so when I catch myself in the spiritual journey that I want something beyond me, I always bring myself back with a story that I've anchored from. One of my friends shared this story with me, and he said there was a nun who spent about, 40 years of her life in the monastery. And when she retired and she returned back, I think they wanted to interview her to see how enlightened she is, and they wanted to interview about if she saw angels, and she spoke to God and the spirits. And they said, so what did you learn in your years of being a nun? And she took a big long pause, and she said, I learned how to eat and sleep. So that was like, this is the story that I anchor myself in. So what I'm hearing from you, beginning of your journey as a medicine carrier, you also went through the motions of wanting enlightenment, wanting like something beyond, like connecting to something beyond, and have this, maybe like levitation, lights coming out of our hands, those kind of images, fantasies. But then realizing that this is it. This is all we have. This physical plane is all we have. And all we can do is trust and be okay with not knowing, and still be full of gratitude and unconditional in our daily lives. I feel like this is the work. This is the work. Because sometimes without knowing ourselves, we tend to want to know the divine and the universe, the cosmic, but we avoid ourselves. We avoid so hard, we almost resist knowing ourselves, but we just want to jump 10 levels and find divine or become a goddess or a god or a messiah, or. But I'm hearing from you that it's the art of self-work is actually in the simplicity of accepting what is, because we're not going anywhere. There's this quote that I love: there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, we're here. And it's like our job is to just accept what is here and make conscious choices every day. What's in front of our nose, deal with that, be authentic, be unconditional. Tiny little actions. Because last summer I went to another ceremony, and it was with it's with the desert toad, 5-MeO.
Buffo.
And it was really interesting, Naysha. The message, the insight I had was this: okay, we love having you, we love you coming to these ceremonies, but the work you need to do is not here. Now go home, go to your simple life, and do the work by taking small actions daily to be more true, to be more authentic, to be more accepting. And like you said, the second thing I want to touch on: meet people where they are. Don't get too hung up with your own importance. You don't know nothing, accept you don't know nothing, and meet people where they are. You're not here to change, teach, pull or push anyone. Your job is to accept and meet people where they are. I feel like you've been doing that all along in your ceremonies, because I remember, when I was doing my work with you, I remember so many people come to you and ask these big questions, after their ceremony. They would say, this was the thing message, like, what does it mean to me? Do I become a shaman? Do I become do I change the world? Do I, go on to this mission? And I've never heard you giving any answer to these people. And I remember from you always pointing people back to themselves. Just listen, you know the answer, just listen. I think this is a great skill. I don't know if you do this intentionally, I don't know if you do this consciously, but this is one of the biggest skill that a shaman, for me anyway, in my opinion, the ability to turn people back to themselves. I did this with you. When I first met you after a few ceremonies, I was like, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm getting this, I they tell me this, what do I do? And you just listen. And I think that's a really good quality, because after these ceremonies, it's very easy to immerse in that messiah complex. I'm the goddess, the divine goddess came to heal the world. It's easy, right? But yet we don't know and we don't understand that healing the world is about us meeting everyone where they are every day. Acceptance. This was a big breakthrough after a while. And the more I kind of go into this work, the more I appreciate you, because I remember those times where you never give anybody a promising answer or explaining what it means, or this or anything that could give them a different understanding. I like that. That's a really good discipline. And one other thing I want to touch on, Naysha, is you said about there are so many shamans and healers who have lineage of healers. Sometimes they come to the work through this. I know so many myself as well. And you said, but the best facilitators and the healers are the ones who come to the work by calling. I can definitely agree with you on that. Because again, there's another quote that I love: the brighter the light, the deeper the shadows. I feel like people who carry the brightest light and acceptance and unconditional love are the ones who's gone through the deepest shadows. This is so true. And they become not just facilitators in my eyes, but a container. They become a container. Like You, for example, in my eyes, could sit in a ceremony and be this container. And I feel like to be able to be a container, we need to address and face a lot of those darkness in ourselves for us to be able to contain everyone else's darkness in a ceremony setting, especially. I've seen you do this over and over again so many times, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is huge. Just wanted to add this.
Thank you so much, Susan. From the things that you're saying, I also want to like say some things because I think they're important. Um, when we are, doing ayahuasca, sometimes, yes, the medicine invites us to work, and there is a big responsibility to take that invitation. It took me 5 years to take this invitation. Like as we shared before, it had to be a very big thing for me. Not about me being a shaman, that invitation, but about real transformation for others. And I think like when we find ourselves that we want to do this for others, even when we find ourselves resistant to it, but you see the higher purpose, I think that is when we are more likely to be ready. But still, we need to learn. The medicine is a consciousness, and sometimes she's feeling the people. The people that will have the capacity to hold that energy, to hold that space. But many times, again, our egos, but also our illusions, because our feelings of not feeling good enough comes in the way, and it's like, oh, this spirit has approved me, that I am special, that I have special gifts. And yes, there are some people that they have certain conditions that will match with this work. People that is highly intuitive, empathic, that has a discipline, that, that can see and understand. Yes. But to filter, the invitation, because this is, Susan, something that I've been thinking a lot, how can I express this to people, without hurting anybody's feelings. That's why I never, take it as a yes or a no, but more in a journey of discovery. Because if it's meant to be for you, it's going to come to you. Like for me, it took me 5 years, it was meant to be for me. I don't know what will happen to me. Perhaps I will have a more harder journey if I will take it as a yes from the beginning, because I didn't know where I was getting to in that time. But for all these people, that receive invitations from the medicine, know that you are already special. The medicine is not giving you any validation from what you are. You are already special, and you have the capacity to do whatever you want to do, and wherever you want to do it, and whatever time, because it's in you. And it's when you are fully connected in your heart, when you don't have any more doubts, any more, lack of confidence or beliefs in yourself, then you can do whatever you want. You can be a shaman, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be whatever you want. Then why people goes into the spiritual path is also looking for this, self-approval. But this is something that we need to give ourselves. That's why people also get lost into the ego trap, in the medicines, because there is not yet this completely unification of the being accepting, like, yes, this is what is me, and I love myself, and blah blah blah. So the medicine comes and see your qualities, and then sometimes we feel like, oh yeah, me. But no, it's not like that. That's why this is a journey of self-discovering, and everything comes in the right time. Like the all the teachers and all what we do as a professionals is the resume of all the years and dedication that we have put in that practices. Is the result of the practice what is making really, a good teacher. So if the medicine tell you that you're a shaman, yes, you have the qualities. It doesn't mean that you already know, have the capacity, the skills, the tools to do it. So if you receive the invitation, go for it. Go with respect, learn how to do it properly. And in that journey, when you are there, you will find out if this is really for you. Because sometimes the medicine invite us, but it doesn't tell us what is under the, small letters in the
Small.
contract. It doesn't, there is a lot of, um, I will not say sacrifices, but there is a lot of commitment that one needs to be willing to do. Otherwise, it's better not to get into this, because once you can get ill, you can put people's lives on risk also. Mainly the energy, of course. And instead of, doing something good, we can damage people. Like, no non-doctor goes to, to open people just because they want to help them. And, I know how to do it because you read it in some book. It's not like that. Same, with the shamanic work. It's not just enough the intention of wanting to help people. It's also, the practice, the learning, the respect, the commitment of, how you're going to bring that desire into action, how you will do it, with respect, without harming other people and without harming yourself. Yeah, this is what I wanted to add.
Yeah, this is very clear. So tell me a little bit more about that small print that comes with becoming a shaman or the medicine carrier. What are the things that you struggled, challenged by through the years? Over 12 years you've been doing this now. Tell us like 2 or 3 things that really, really is significant, that this is what it takes, for example.
Well, from my personal, life, I can say, because it will be different from everybody. Uh, but I think one of the biggest things for me, uh, it's, to set boundaries with people. And there is in the Bible these teachings, and also with Buddha, when he has to leave everything behind, his family, and he doesn't leave this, in an egoistic way. All the opposite. He has to leave all this behind because he's going to find, himself, herself, in order that when he or she comes back, it will just bring more, unity to that family. So for me, it's been difficult. Yes, sometimes I have to let, people go from my life. I have to let go my family. But then again, it's been just in order for me to find myself and to find, the way how I'm going to be able to maintain that unity, and to accept what is meant to be for me is meant to be for me, and, and for my life. Um, because sometimes we think, like, when we are, in this spiritual path, that we have a lot of friends, but it's not like that. You actually find that you only have yourself, yes, and that people is not yet ready for make sometimes very, deep and intimate connection, because they still, have a lot of projections and things that comes in the relationships. And sometimes to protect them, we need to withdraw, from these relationships. That for me has been one of the most difficult things that I have to do, to my friends. Sometimes finish relationships, to protect the people that I was with. And it was not point sometimes to explain, just to say the bigger picture, because their people is not ready yet, or it's not there yet, or until you become unconditional. The other part is being to deal with these dark energies, because the dark energies are a very low vibration. It's very dense. It's very heavy. Um, yeah, I don't know if that been the first one, the most difficult part of, living my relationships, but yeah, it's kind of this, like, similar in terms of how hard it is.
Do
So
you
from the
mean,
beginning,
do you
yeah,
mean, do you mean the more you start working as a healer, the more you have to deal with the dark energies?
yes,
Is
it's
this
like,
is this a test? Is this a
yes,
your rites of passage you have to go through?
yeah,
And yeah.
it's more intense in the beginning.
And why
Uh,
is that? Why do you think that is? To just give you a test if you're going to
yes,
stand on your ground.
yes, it's
Okay.
see if you are strong enough to handle, because you cannot panic in the middle of a ceremony. At least in a planned ceremony, you're the last one that you can panic when all these energies comes, because also people is coming to the ceremonies to clear these energies, and sometimes we are not aware that we carry these energies, with us, and we all carry, everybody, and that's why we always need to practice, to clean, to learn how to clean our energy, how to protect our energy. The beginning for me was very difficult because well, I was training in a city called Iquitos, which is one of the, it's very dark there also, if people knows. But it's also, a place where it's a lot of, wisdom that can come there, but yeah, we were attacked by other shamans, sending, like demons. I have to also encounter demons inside of people and other kind of entities. And then, later on, now, nowadays, like before I'm going to retreat, sometimes the energy start to come to me even before we go, because they know that we are going to do the work, so they don't want, of course, to let go these energies. So this is, something that it's not a lot of people, knows, that they only see the bright part of this, or the ego wants to see, like, they're sitting there in the ceremony room, but you don't know all what the shaman needs to carry, in the energy for that ceremony to go as peaceful and nice as you are experiencing in the space, at least, because the inner journey, it can be hard as well, but yeah, that can be the second thing that is being, very hard for me. But
Can I just add one thing that really stood out for me? You said you've done most of your training in Iquitos, where you said it's known for its dark energies and darkness. But you said it's also the place for the greatest wisdom. Isn't this like metaphorically in everything? It's almost like the quote that I just said earlier. The brighter the light, the darker the shadows.
yes,
It's like
exactly.
the stronger the greater the wisdom, harder to get it. And it's almost like again, I just want to just talk to you quickly about the webinar that I attended, held by the Psychedelic Society UK. And there was one speaker that really kind of moved me. He said, I know you say this all the time. I remember it from our work in the previous time. He said, to get to the wisdom, there are passages, there are wisdom keepers, and these wisdom keepers sometimes can be energies, present present themselves as dark energies. You got to go through that. The wisdom is not just available. You need to put a lot of test and work, and it's like a rites of passage. You need to go through all of those things before you get there. You reminded me of that when you said, even before the ceremonies or even before the retreats that you held, there are things that you do in advance, even to get there. It could be resistance, it could be struggle to clear this path before you even get there. And I remember one thing you used to say, sometimes the more we connect with the medicine and build that relationship, you don't need to drink it, you can just think of it and you're there, you're connected, and you're in the ceremony, right? These are really interesting concepts, and I'm very interested in this. And I also think of it as, how do you explain this to the people that you work with or collaborate with? Because I know you collaborate with so many other shamans. Do you find this easy, or is it a struggle to really talk about these things with everyone?
What do you mean, the part of the energies holding?
Yeah, like, in the ceremonies, you said a lot of us carry dark, dense energies. We bring it to the ceremony space, and the shaman needs to contain and get rid of these energies and help the people. So, does everybody understand this? For example, is this a struggle for you as a person, as a shaman holding space?
With the ones that are already shamans, like Daryl, for example, no. With him, we speak the same language. With the people that is learning, it is a little bit more difficulties with them, mainly because, well, when we are in Europe, it's a little bit more difficult to make them do the dietas. But that's why, I'm now putting every year that they need to do a dieta if they want to continue working with this, because it's also, again, they also don't know. So until they don't experience, we cannot really explain much about certain things. So I have one of the girls that I'm training. She's very intuitive, and she can feel the spirits and blah blah blah. She can talk with the spirits, and she said to me once, "Yeah, Naysha, I'm not afraid of the spirits or the demons. They can come and blah blah blah, or the ghost." And I say, "Yeah, yeah, that's cool, but wait until they touch you physically, like when they physically come to touch you when you sleep. That's a different history," I say, and they will do. Uh, and then, one night she just texts me, "Naisha, you need to come. Something has touched me, pull my leg," and so it's sometimes, a little bit different to explain with context than to have the experience. So that's why, again, it's very important when one is learning to also, have the practical part. It's not just theory. When it's about shamanism, work with plants, with energies, all about practice. And in that practice, the theory comes, the wisdom comes with this. But it's the same, like, the Eastern philosophies or the Indian philosophies, the meditation and all these things they do, fasting, is the same. They go through that experience, and then the information, the wisdom start to be given to them. There are also, very good energies that sometimes they hide as dark, because if you're not ready yet to receive certain things. That's why, in the spiritual world, it also goes like level by level. It's what you can digest, what you can experience. And this is also a problem that I see people coming to ceremonies, that they don't give themselves the time to digest the experience that they have. Like, sometimes they need to understand everything, rather than feel how the experience has left, what it has left within them, and give it time to accommodate. Because sometimes going to a ceremony is like, you have a glass of water, and you have sand also in that water, because that's what you want to clear out. And when you go to ceremony, you're just basically removing that glass, and sometimes some of the sand comes, but some other is still there, and it needs to settle until it's not clear. You cannot see what's going on. And that's why a lot of people is struggling with integration as well. And integration is very simple, actually. It's first practicing whatever teaching you have received and that resonates in your life. So if you have been receiving a message, you need to forgive or be more forgiving. That's such a big thing. It's not a small thing that can create such a big difference in your life. This is also one teaching that I was giving once, like, forgive, because there is in this planet none place to hide. So if you want, you need to be that free that when there is a problem with someone, and you're in a restaurant or any part of the world, if any of your enemies comes, that you can stay there, that you are not the one that has to leave, that you can stay there at peace, because you have forgive, because you have confront. And sometimes we want to receive in the ceremonies, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Sometimes it's just about one teaching that is so big and profound that books have been writing about just that subject, and we don't see it. And we go back home, and we want to, like, what we are going to integrate. So
Yes.
there is.
Yes, I love what you said. Integration is a very simple process, actually. I do believe, I do believe you, because I know that. Also, you said now you are putting people on a dieta, because dieta is more intensive cleansing and understanding and connecting with the plant medicines. I'm guessing, right? Is that correct? So instead of they keep coming back, because you used to have this a lot in your retreats. You would have the same person keep coming every retreat and not really taking a time to settle, to pause, to reflect, all of these things. And with the integration, it's true. Like now, so many people are writing blogs and articles, and there's so many even books on integration now. They even say that the integration is the most important part than the actual the ceremony itself, and actual the process of the medicine, which is true. But you said it could be as simple as just applying. I think the reason we don't apply the teachings, because they go against the ego defenses, because we still have the emotional charge. We still have the emotional attachment to the thing that we need to forgive. And I think in the West, a lot of the things, like we talk about in some of our programs, talk about the grieving process. I feel like people miss the step. Like before forgiveness, there has to be a grieving process where we grieve it out from our system, whether it's crying, whether it's letting go. But we need to sit with the pain of that thing beforehand to be able to truly forgive. I think when people miss that step, it just becomes intellectual. It becomes, like you said, it doesn't drop into the body or embodied in the body. So you can verbally say you've forgiven somebody, but if you miss the step of grieving it and really feeling it, feeling the pain and letting go, I don't think people really, like you said, it could be that one teaching is so profound. And if you don't go through these steps, you can easily keep coming back for the medicine, but not really implementing, right?
Yes. And also, Susan, the the thing now that we are facing, and we hear a lot of integration, is also have to be with the first thing we were talking. The teachers of ayahuasca, they are trained to hold ceremonies, They are not trained to give information to people. Sometimes guidance. So here in Peru, curandero means a healer. It's not a guide. It's a healer. It's not going to help you to understand what happened to you. Maybe can tell you, yeah, maybe you was walking there, it was a bad spirit, and you catch it. But the most deepest problems that has been, created on you is only us, the ones that can find those answers. And then comes, that's the soul journey, the individual soul journey, to keep, looking for these answers and not to give up. And also not to try to expect that we are going to understand everything at once, that all our life is a process. We are going to, still have till the last minutes of life that we keep learning and understanding. We still have till that moment to understand, like, oh, that was life about. That was my life about, you know? As we can also just, be there, like, I didn't got it. So you come back, until you got it, until you can get it.
Yeah, it's like chasing enlightenment, and then just like the nun story we talked about, at the end,
Yeah.
coming to just understand how to be and how to do the simple things in a way. Yeah, it's
And
very
one other thing, Susan, sorry, that connected with you was saying also the integration. Nowadays we hear more because we don't take the time to heal as we have to. Like to work with plant medicine, it requires time. It's not just a weekend, it's not just 5 days, it's not just a month. You need to have really time to do this. I like always invite people like to take at least a year off, to go and to look into your stuff, because all the problems that you're carrying within yourself, it didn't took one day, it didn't took a weekend, it took 5 years, took all your life, sometimes many lifetimes, and for that you need time, or to divide that time a year by year and to just dedicate in to do that. I know it's not easy, with the world that we have, but I always say we can find solutions. Like, people can commit to work 6 months hard and then take 6 months off and, to do their work, or the opposite, just do 1 month, do it good. So the dietas is also a way that we use to integrate, what we are seeing in the ceremonies, because in the dietas you're isolated, you don't have any distractions, you're just there with yourself, and then the work with the plants, they're also pushing you to see these things. You cannot hide anything, and your connection with with your higher self, with the divine, it also becomes open and wider, and you can listen more. So this is also some very important tool that is missing right now inside of the ayahuasca circles, outside of the Amazon, and even inside, the dietas. This is something I'm putting a lot of lately, effort into bring more to Europe. But again, people doesn't have time. But then again, it's a personal choice. If you want to make a difference, we keep so busy sometimes, with our works, like trying to get more, trying to do this, trying to do that. When it's just Corona again, bringing us to this point, what we really need in life. You need a roof under your head. You need food, and good company. That's all what you need. And sometimes, the good company is just yourself. If you're good with yourself, it's all what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, Corona is almost like the reset calling to come back and center in yourself and reflect and realize, because like you said, as humans we like to acquire, and then the soul journey seems like shed, let go, right? Instead of acquiring. I think this is so great that you mentioned, and I think dietas should be like compulsory, required for everyone. I don't think like the way, because the living in digital age doesn't help. I'm a big fan of technology, but when it comes to soul journey or self work, technology is not on our side, because technology is about getting information so quickly, reading that book, the article, and watching the documentary, and it's just like it kind of wires us to want things quick. So it's definitely not on our side, and the real soul work needs time, like you said. And then if we can't find 2 weeks minimum, because I know in the traditional way it's about a month dieta, but you're offering 2 weeks sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, the minimum it should be more than 10 days for sure. Because after 10 days is really, 10 days a human being can still hold, how strong we are. But then after 10 days, like things start really to go on, the longer is the best. 1 month already gives you a lot. 6 months, it will like make a huge difference. I did this 1 year and a half, on and off, 15 days, resting a couple of days, and again 10 days, and like that, but it's just a matter of taking that time, the opportunity, or planning it, to do, because it really will give you much more a bigger view of also how plants, how the spirit, how the energies are working. Just imagine, a weekend with the ceremony, how much it gives you. You may imagine, disconnecting from everything and just going into yourself. It's deeper than a meditation, because you're isolated and you are in silence. You cannot be. I have to become now with the years more strict, as also I have to become less strict, because I also see like some people is not really ready to fully experience this. So it's not even point to put them, because they are just not there yet. So sometimes also, to give people what they need. This is also something that failed kind of here in Peru or in the Amazon, because also the teachers, they think like people knows, and then people comes here, they put in a dieta, they don't understand why they're not eating what they usually eat. They feel cheated. Oh, you're not giving me this and that, I'm paying you this much money. They're not aware of what they are receiving. It's way much better than a plate of salad or fruits, like all the detox that comes with the dietas. I think we need to give a time to do a talk about that, Susan.
Absolutely. I think we need to do part 2 on the dieta itself. Why is it so important, and why is it about isolation, fasting, and detoxing.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends who just did the diet in Peru recently, he said, you've got to take all of that out of you so that you become hypersensitive to hear the plants and connect with the plants. Because when there's a lot of processed food inside of you and a lot of distraction, like your phone and your things that you are occupied in your mind, you can't hear the teachings, you can't connect to the plants. This totally makes sense. And I like what you said there. It takes about 10 days that we hold. I think that holding is the ego defenses, and diet needs to,
We don't have any problem.
yeah, it needs to break you down. It needs to break you down. And so that there's, nothing there. So you can build it all back up again authentically. So it's like breaking the illusion, the bubble that we create for ourselves.
And this also, Susan, why there are not many women, doing ayahuasca, because most women here in the Amazon, they have children very early. And when you have a child, it's much more difficult to take that time off. But things are changing now as well. So everything is coming to balance. More women are also, into these practices.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are seeing it's it's very, very promising. So I think the pandemic, it's a rites of passage, as my friend calls it. It's a global rites of passage.
Yeah.
I think it's very promising. And the most important thing I'm going to take away from this conversation, sometimes you just need to give people what they need. If they want to just come for a retreat weekend and just feel good, and just for that little time that they want to disconnect from their chaotic environment, that's fine too. Sometimes I think we definitely need to meet people where they are and accept.
Mm-hmm.
And then know the difference between other people who are really ready for a deeper work, deeper sacrifice, deeper compromise, deeper understanding, because that is invaluable. Thank you so much again for your time, for your wisdom today. Really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Susan. It was really lovely.
I will definitely have you back on part 2, because there's so much that we left out. There's so much we can talk. But for today, we'll end it here, and can't wait to connect with you again. We'll share all your links and your page with the listeners if they want to connect with you. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you guys on the next one. For now, much love. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Psychedelic Conversations podcast is designed to educate, inform, and expand awareness. For more information, please head over to psychedelicconversations.com. You can also share with your friends or leave a review so that we can reach more people. You can also join us in our private Facebook group to keep the conversation going. This show is for information purposes only, and it is not intended to provide mental health or medical advice. Thanks for listening.